Have you ever wanted to read faster? Okay, so how is this done? Well, here's the algorithm. Start off with a text file that can be anything, and I'm gonna bring that into Blender such that each word is its own line, which lets me separate one word at a time by flicking through the lines. Then for centering, if I pick a word like this, I'm gonna find the letter that's in the middle. If there's an odd number of letters, that's very easy to do, but if there's an even number of letters, so there is no middle one, just find the average and go one to the left or something like that. Make that special letter red, we pick a reading speed, and let me show you how to do it. This can be absolutely anything. Save this as our text file and we can close it. In Blender, you might not know, but there's a import text node, which, it does what you think it does. And then to actually view this, we're going to convert it into a data type, for example, string to curves. This is going to let me preview exactly what it is we wrote. Now, we want to isolate word per word. The annoying way of doing that is to detect these spaces and get the units in between. But let's be lazy. Take the text box width, which can split this into lines, and pick something really tiny like 0.01. Fill curve just for visibility. And now what we need to do is take one word at a time. For example, we take the word absolutely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 letters, it's an even number. So the dividing line is here, and I'm just going to pick one to the left. I just need to know the position of it so that I can send it to the middle. Separate the geometry where we want to take instances. This is because every single letter, becomes its own instance. And we're going to take the line and ask, where is this equal to some number like 0, 1, 2, whatever. And now I can scroll through the words. Let's pick a word that's kind of easy to work with. So let's see, anything. I guess if you consider the period, there are then 9 letters, meaning technically this H is the one in the middle, and I just want information about it. All I need to do is I need to get the position. This is a free node at cgmatter.com. Take this as the input. I'm going to get position of the instance, and then the question is, what index do I want? In other words, which letter? This is letter 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Let's find out how many letters there are so we can find the one in the middle. Domain, size, connect that here. We look at the number of instances, and then we find the one in the middle. This is as easy as taking this, we half it or divide by 2. This is also something I have a node for. And then we can round down or up or whatever it is we want to do. Let's round up, which is what ceiling means. It means round up to the nearest integer. 9 divided by 2 is equal to 4.5. You take this thing, you round it up, and then you get the 5th letter, which is again exactly the one in the middle. And then for even numbers, it will be 1 off, which is fine. This is what I want to get the position of, and then we just transform it to have this be in the middle. If H has some position denoted by this vector that points to it, I want to go backwards so that we go to the origin. Let's transform our geometry by taking the position and then scaling it by -1. That means inverting it. Put that in the translation, and that should be correct, I believe. I guess it depends what you count as like the position of the letter. Is the position in the middle of it, or is it the bottom right corner? We can check by taking our instances, which is each letter individually, and I'm going to rotate instances, and you can indeed see the pivot point is not in the middle. If this had a bounding box, it would be in the bottom left corner. All of this right here just moves our text and call it center. And then really the only thing that matters is what text do I put inside of here, and then this integer right here, which tells us which word, which line are we talking about. So this can be absolutely anything. Take all of this, make it a node group, and now because this is working, we're gonna need some longer text. What is topical nowadays? I mean, 2026, what happened in 2026? But this is just like a list of information. Let's do 2025. Here something was actually written. I'm gonna take all of this, whatever it is it says, copy it, paste it inside of here, and then I believe at the moment blank characters or like line breaks count as like words. And now that I reload this, it's gonna bring in the new word. So blah, 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 blah. Let's now determine how fast this should be. So one kind of naive way to do this is you take the scene time and you have the frame number be the word index. However, you will notice quickly This might be a bit too fast. Instead, I'm going to take my CG Matter time node. Again, it's free on my website, cgmatter.com, and I'm going to connect this time over here. So right now, this is going to be at a rate of exactly 1 word per second. If I take this and I bump it up to 10, it's going to be at a rate of 10 words per second. Now, remember, one key thing that this is missing is the letter that we're pinning should be a certain color that lets us keep our focus on it. Well, we already know what letter is going to be in the middle. I can store an attribute on the instance, which is going to be called center. All I need to know is a letter the center or is it not? I'm going to take this index that we calculated. I'm going to use my compare index node and make that the value. So when the index is equal to this thing we made, it will be the center, and otherwise it won't be. Let's throw on a set material node. This can be our custom material. And then the material is as simple as taking this BSDF and saying, no way, Jose, bringing in the attribute instead that I called center. And you might be wondering, why is it not highlighting the center letter? Remember, we're applying this attribute on an instance. In other words, use the instancer. And now it is nice and centered. Oh, you know what? This is actually one off because was is 3 letters. Obviously, it should be A. We have 3. We divide it by 2. That's 1.5. And then we take the ceiling, which rounds it up to 2, which makes sense. It is the second letter, WA. But remember, indexing starts at 0, not at 1. Tiny correction here. Sorry if you were screaming at your screen. Decrement, in other words, subtract by 1. And now everything is nice and centered. As for the shader, I'm going to mix a color where most of the text is going to be white, except for the main letter, which we can say can be red, with a black background. And that's it. So now let's just read this. I'm not going to say it out loud because it's fast. Here we go. I mean, to me, it's legible. It's a little harder depending on the complexity of the words. If you want to challenge yourself, take the time, multiply it by 10 instead, and now it's 10 words per second. Let's take a different piece of text. One short story, I guess it's very famous, that I read recently is They're Made of Meat. It has a lot of line breaks. But maybe in this case, it will be to our advantage that there's going to be like breaks in between the lines. So let's see. They're made of meat. Meat? Yes, they're made of meat. Meat, there's no doubt about it. We picked from several. This is actually a perfect this is a perfect example of sorry, my brain's getting hijacked. For the TikTok brains. I'm going to try to legitimately read stuff like this. I think that's funny.